This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning. But we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 27th of May, 2019, and I am 2J.
I am 2M.
And I am Miss K, your host. Again, in case you missed it, this is Winning Headlines. Let's take a look at today's headlines. The Standard, new bid to slash counties by half.
Oh boy.
The Star, you're unwanted in Kiambu, RUTO told. And Daily Nation, the enemy within, crisis of guns in wrong hands.
Good.
Yeah.
I want to know why RUTO is unwanted in Kiambu. Let's start there.
You know, they have a saying in Kiswahili,
Yeah.
mti wenye matunda hukosi kutupiwa mawe. All right? A tree
Are you
with
saying
fruits.
that RUTO is that fruit-filled tree and we are the proverbial stone throwers? I know, I'm asking. Now that I live in Kiambu.
Let me put it this way. William Ruto is being built. All right? The more sanctions you place on him, the more barriers you place on him, the more his profile goes up.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, you have this thing in politics where they talk about being a political weather maker.
Yes.
And I think right now that's what he is. When he decides we're going this way,
Yes.
we're going this way. If he decides it's going to rain, it's going to rain.
Yeah.
Also, we all just congregate around him and we just are pulled into that vortex that he's created.
Yeah, if I was him, I would love this kind of attacks. You know, I'd appreciate them. And
In short, you're telling William Ruto, sit pretty.
Oh, yeah.
Just sit pretty.
People
and
are
let
doing the
them
work for him.
throw
Oh,
the
yes.
stones,
Oh,
because
yes.
what they do is that they make the people turn and look at that particular tree and
Oh,
wonder,
absolutely.
what is it that is so good or
Yes.
so bad about it?
Absolutely.
Otherwise, I think generally it's a good headline.
Yes.
So what do you think? We keep
It's
it?
effective. Yeah.
Then we
Parking
put
bay.
it in the parking bay.
All right.
But before we put it in the parking bay, let me remind our viewers about the criteria that we use to make a headline a winning headline or put it in the parking bay as we just have. We have a three-part criteria that we use to break down the headlines for you. We ask ourselves three questions. Is this headline topical or is it speculative? Is it repetitive or is it groundbreaking? And finally, is it thoughtful or just plain lazy?
Yes.
So we're going to keep that headline for now and look at it against
Yes.
Daily Nation. Enemy within, crisis of guns in wrong hands.
Hands. Is this new?
No, it's
I
not
don't
new.
think it is.
No, it isn't new.
Is it sensational?
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Definitely, they're trying to whip up our emotions. But
Yeah.
when you tell me that the government doesn't know how many weapons it's issued in the last 50 years,
Yes.
that's a pretty long time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wasn't even alive.
Yes, and we have published research out there, right, showing that this has been the case for such a long time. In fact, we have statistics that show that for every one gun the police have, criminals have 8.
Yeah.
But the only reason these criminals are unable to overrun us,
Yeah.
seeing as they have so many guns, is for two reasons.
Correct.
One, because the guns they have are for market activities, so
Yes.
they keep the guns to rob you. They want money.
Yes.
And second, they don't have the capacity or the ability to organize. So if they
Themselves,
organized
yes.
effectively
Yeah.
and they became a force,
Yes.
like SLDF, so a
Yes.
force against the Kenya Defense Forces, then
Yes.
now you have friction.
I think this is caused by a phenomena we call here distance decay, right? That the far you are from the center,
Yeah.
the more likely you are to be organized by a militia, all right?
That makes sense. I think
yeah.
in the article they talk about, what do they call it? A triangle?
The devil's triangle.
Devil's triangle, yes.
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 So those areas are far from the center.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And they are far because the state is absent.
Absent. Yeah, we talked about it. State absent and state abstinence.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's not because the state does not want to act, it is because it just simply does not exist
there.
there.
Yeah.
So what do we say about this headline? The enemy within, crisis of guns in the wrong hands. I like how the wordplay is of the headline itself, but the story itself is
It's
repetitive.
old, yeah.
So I think we
And I
toss
think
it.
in the absence of current news or exciting news, they
Yes.
whip up
You
emotions
have-
to cause fear.
Absolutely.
Toss it.
Yeah.
New bid to slash counties by half.
This-
Miss K, the sigh.
What? This I
Because
love.
you love this headline,
This I love. You
and the
know
way
why?
I think there's no one who takes power to seed it. No.
All right, okay. Miss K, you begin. Tell us why you don't like the headline.
No one takes power to seed it. So new bid to slash counties by half. You're just boring me.
All right,
I
2M,
could toss it
why do you
immediately.
love it?
Less government works for Africans.
Yeah, I
More-
mean,
more
that
government.
he's consistent with his argument.
Yeah,
he
less
is.
government.
Today, last week he agreed to swing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I agree. I think we toss it.
I say we toss
Yeah,
it.
no news.
You're unwanted in Kiambu. RUTO told. The Star gives us a winning headline.
Absolutely. And I agree.
Ironically.
I agree. I agree.
I think it's a winning headline.
Winning
I do.
headline for me.
Okay, cool. We keep it.
Yeah.
On to our next segment, the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. And just like the headlines, we have a 3-part criteria that we use to break down the cartoons for you. We ask ourselves 2 questions.
Yep.
Is a cartoon humorous or is it dry? Is it satirical or is it pessimistic? And finally, is it effective or just plain lazy? Nation.
Iga. Wow.
I think it took us a while to understand the cartoon. We had to dissect it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't understanding who was the witness here.
Yes.
Who's the accused
Who's
person?
the accused?
Yes.
And is Wanjiko the magistrate or just sitting in the court?
Exactly.
A journalist?
There was
I don't know.
lots of pieces that didn't make sense.
Yeah. I mean, he seems to be going at KEBS.
Yeah.
And he's got a list there, fake list, gold, currency,
Title
deeds.
Yeah, those
And,
are the crimes, I guess,
yeah.
against a KEBS.
Yes, and he says, please, this is a lawyer, yeah?
Yeah.
Says, please also verify political promises.
And he points to?
He points to Jubilee.
Who here we've understood is the accused, that's our interpretation.
Yes.
I didn't understand the cartoon. I think there were too many layers that were hard to decipher.
Yeah.
I say we toss it.
I think we toss it. It looks like a comic strip.
Yeah. All right.
Standard. Let's see what Gado has for us.
Oh, the subliminal messaging here is
All right.
fantastic. All right. Caricature of Moses Wetangula, Senator Moses Wetangula. Right next to him is a bicycle labeled, and it's carrying a chicken. And
In a sanduku.
and it's been labeled to buy gold. and he's holding a megaphone. And
Speaking to the press.
Speaking to the press. The microphones are right there, and he's holding a megaphone. Wow.
Yeah, but the irony is not lost on us.
Yes. And he says, I'll hit back muntu kumuntu. Almost. But there's one thing here, guys.
Yes.
I believe Raila Odinga knows more about the Dubai gold than he's telling us. Yep.
So what you're saying, because the moment he says, I'll hit back muntu kumuntu,
Yes.
he's trying to say that I'm
There's
putting
someone.
out a call.
Oh, yes.
And I'm going to attack someone face
Yes.
to face, and
Absolutely.
I'm going to come at someone. So
Abs-
you're trying to hint that the person who's going to come at
Look,
is Raila Odinga.
in that audio recording,
Yeah.
Yes.
the voice of that person, and he has not denied it, is that seemingly of Moses Wetangula. The people who have been named as the fake gold profiteers, this is here, I don't know, whatever his name is. By now, if they had committed a crime,
They
right,
would have been in custody.
they would
Right.
have been in custody.
Honestly, I think Gado is the king of satire.
He
Yes.
is. I do love it.
He knows how to do it just
Right
at that
without,
point.
Sometimes he does it perfectly without offending.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, the only thing that he's missing is a radio
Yes.
and a thermos.
Yes.
For chai.
Alright. I say parking bay.
Pocket.
Finally,
This is my
Ozone.
best. This is my best.
So I've been called out.
Yeah.
The people are saying I'm not being objective.
We also have to
So
note
today
that,
I'm going to be objective.
Yeah, okay, be objective, 1, but 2, I note that Ozone's markings are not anywhere on this cartoon. I
But
don't know
it's
if
his
intentional.
handwriting. We know
Yes,
it's
it
him.
is. It is his
Is he
signature.
hiding?
It's
It is his signature.
All right, so
signature.
describe the
Describe this
cartoon.
cartoon.
So it's Moses Wetangula, all right, standing on a rock labeled Hong Kong. On the far end of the horizon is a land called Kenya.
Beautiful.
And he's been drawn as
And
Moses from the Bible.
This land is quite shiny. It's this glorious land of Kenya.
Absolutely. And in between Kenya and Hong Kong is Dubai. Now, the place, Wetangula is in Hong Kong right now, right? Now, for him to go
To
all
make
the way
it to
Kenya,
the promised land.
to the promised land,
He has to part.
he has to part the waters,
Yes.
like Moses
So
did.
essentially, Ozone is saying he has to deal with Dubai
Yes,
To come back home.
before he comes back.
yes.
I think it's very funny because you are the one who reminded us
Yeah.
that Wetangula's name, his first name is
He's
Moses.
Moses Wetangula.
I think that it missed me, but I think it's a good cartoon.
I think
I like it. I really do like it, and I
Yeah.
like the play. And finally, he's not being obvious.
Yes,
Like
yeah.
completely obvious. You
Yes.
have to think about it a little bit, and when you look at it, it is
You have
funny
that
when
light
you look
bulb,
at it.
yeah.
You have a
Yeah.
light bulb.
Yeah.
So it's Weta versus Weta.
yes.
Okay, what do we think?
No. I like Ndula. No.
Ozone. Or maybe Ndula.
Who
The mystery
knows?
continues.
Okay, I have to agree.
Yeah.
Today, by the way, TJ, I'm going with Ozone.
And surprisingly, I'm also going with Ozone. I am.
So Ozone from the start
Yeah.
is this our winning cartoon.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
What is our final thought?
And now, our final thought. Book.
Yes, sir.
It is inspired by a book entitled Freakonomics by Stephen D. Levitt and Stephen J. Dubner. I love this book, and I recommend it to everybody, right? And fantastic title there with the pictures and everything. But biggest takeaway from this book is that morality represents how we want the world to work for us. But in true sense, the world is run by economics. Economics runs the world.
Yeah, I agree.
Junie, you want to take us through the thematic areas?
Sure. Yeah. So the subtitle of the book is A Rogue Economist Explores the Hidden Side of Everything.
Correct.
So this book is not about economics.
Yeah.
It is rather about how they apply economic theories to other subjects.
Yes.
They aim to turn conventional wisdom on its head.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the three thematic areas that we'll go through in this book, we'll start with there's incentives, information asymmetry, and correlation versus causation.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll start first with incentives, right?
Yes.
Cool.
So these are the things that dominate our lives and motivate or encourage us to do something.
Okay.
So it's a lot like nudges, as we've mentioned previously.
Yes, in the book we did last week.
Yes, last week. So the three incentives that they discuss are economic incentives, social incentives, and moral incentives.
Yes.
So in the book they discuss, and this is them flipping conventional wisdom on its head, they look at how incentives make us cheat.
Yes.
So they talk about teachers and how the incentive to have higher rankings gives them an incentive to cheat.
Yes.
How sumo wrestlers, in order to sleep, to get food, to receive more money, are incentivized to cheat and beat the system.
Yes.
So you have economic incentives, which is just plain old money.
Yes.
You have social incentives, which is the incentive to look better amongst your peers. And you have moral incentives, which is your conscience.
Okay, so when you talk about cheating and sumo wrestlers and public schools in Chicago, I thought about something that gives us incentives, or rather something we should question. What is the incentive for in Kenya? And it's been on our headlines. I mean, it's always on our headlines. And if I was to just say it, it would be corruption.
Yes.
So what is our incentive as Kenyans for being corrupt?
Yeah.
Are we saying that we're doing it for an economic? Is it economic thing? Incentives?
Yeah.
Yes.
So are you going to say that a policeman asks for a bribe because he doesn't earn enough money? Therefore, he wants the money from you to be able to pay for the things he has to in life. School fees for his children, a place to stay, for his many wives, even a car.
Yes.
I don't know. Or are we saying that as Kenyans, we are morally hardwired to do it?
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Oh, no.
That it's ingrained.
It's ingrained in us.
I mean, that's your human nature argument, isn't it?
Yes.
I agree. I disagree. I think for this one, I go with Adam Smith. He has a book called The Theory of Moral Sentiments.
Yes.
And in that book, he says that human beings are innately good.
Yeah.
We actually are moral. So I refuse to believe that argument, and I refuse to think that about us as Kenyans. Or is it a social incentive?
Yep.
Do we do it because we don't care how we look in front of others, and actually it is a good thing to be corrupt? Maybe that's why our politicians can be corrupt and we're okay with it.
Yeah, I would say socially, that's the reason.
Human nature, guys.
You guys are night and day. Anyway, the second thematic area, information asymmetry. So in the book they say that once you figure out what makes people do what they do, you can make better decisions. So they explore how experts, whatever they might be, experts who are politicians, experts who are doctors, who are all manner of experts, have prophets. Is a prophet an expert?
You feel something I tell you.
How experts have an incentive to use your lack of knowledge to their benefit. So they use it against you for gain for themselves.
Yes.
Yes, it's true. And I think whenever we talk about information asymmetry, I'd like to look at the media, at least in Kenya, and ask ourselves, do they use this information asymmetry they have, like this information that they keep and that they can churn out to manufacture our consent, to let us know how we are to interpret the world.
Correct.
And then we have no choice but to take it, because in the end they're using it for their
And that reminds me of Nudge, again, where he talks about choice architects. And how essentially a choice architect should be nudging you to make a better decision, but sometimes they do the opposite and they use your lack of knowledge to
their advantage. Not sometimes, they always use it to their own advantage, and that's the whole purpose of being a choice architect.
You were talking about some prophets.
You know, I have come up with a new concept, and the concept is called the free markets of religion, right? And the Austrian school of thought says that whoever has full information in a market has most advantage. Now look, I know of a prophet somewhere in Africa, name withheld, who I suspect uses information asymmetry to
To make
benefit most
predictions.
from this free market of religion. Now, the man predicted an earthquake in Peru. It's Peru, not Paraguay.
Yeah,
It's Peru.
Peru, yeah.
And rightly so.
It happened.
Right? And he's also predicted rains falling in specific places at a specific time in a specific region. Right? Now, he tells you that it will rain and there is a mass, there's the market, the consumers are standing right in front of him and they're hysterical. And then he says, let it rain, let it fall. And it actually falls, all right? And everybody says, Kweli, this is a man of the Lord.
God.
This is a man of God, all right? But what people did not actually realize is that he went and got some meteorological data from somewhere. He came, he read it very well, and he just timed his crusade with the time of the rain.
Yeah,
It's possible.
All right.
Again, he's a choice architect.
Oh, absolutely.
He is determining how the people make decisions based on his full knowledge of
Yes.
the market.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I'd also like to say that there was a time when science was thought of as witchcraft. Maybe that's a conversation for
another day. All right, and now we have the final
one.
theme in the book.
Yes.
Correlation versus causation.
Correct.
And we have to admit, sometimes people get these two concepts very confused.
Yes.
So we're just going to do a simple breakdown.
Yeah.
Causation indicates that one event is caused by the occurrence of another.
Yes.
Okay.
So the
Heat
example...
is caused by sun.
Yes, that is causation.
Okay.
So then the other one, correlation, is the strong association between two variables.
Yes.
So you see that there's a linear relationship between an event. So we can just give two simple examples.
Yeah.
So it used to be believed that ice cream caused polio.
Oh.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
was like about 100 years ago.
If you cool ice cream, you get
You
polio.
get polio,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So there was a
infected over and over again.
there was a correlation between the increase in polio incidences and
Yes.
the increase in the sale of ice cream, and they would show that on a graph.
Yeah.
And they don't know why it happened. To this day, they do not know why polio would go up in the summer
Yeah.
and the sale of ice cream would also go up in the summer.
Okay.
But then what happened is ice cream became vilified.
Yeah.
And there was this whole campaign, do not feed your children ice cream
Ice
because
cream.
they're going to get polio.
Oh,
of course,
man.
it was a very misguided and misjudged
Yes.
correlation.
Otherwise,
Right?
he would have gotten it. I mean,
Yes.
every Christmas when you keep eating that ice cream,
You're waiting for
it would
polio.
to happen to you.
Yeah, it was correlation, not causation.
Yes.
The ice cream did not cause the polio.
Absolutely.
Then on
Okay.
the other hand, you have causation.
Yes.
So in the book, chapter 4 is probably one of the most highly contested chapters.
Yes.
So Levitt, he went and he did this study trying to understand why in the 1990s crime was going down in the United States.
Yeah.
So his theory was abortion was the reason that
Yes.
crime went down in the United States.
Please explain to me how he did that mental leap between
I know.
crime and abortion.
It's a controversial story. So essentially what happened is in the 1990s, crime went down in the United States.
Yeah.
But what
Yeah.
had happened was in the previous 15 years,
Yes.
crime had been going up 80%. So they assumed as they went into the 1990s
Yeah.
that crime would continue to
It's
go
way
up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so instead it went down, right?
That's
and the
weird.
reasons that experts gave were
Yeah.
things like new policing strategies, an increase in the reliance on prison, an aging population, a booming economy, all these things.
So essentially, everyone was patting themselves in the back.
Yes,
The cops were patting
all the
themselves
cops,
in the
the
back.
Kinotis were saying, "Look at
the
me."
bureaucrats were
Of
saying,
course,
"I've
yes.
done a really good job.
Look at-
Policy
yes.
is working."
Very good job.
Yeah. Then this guy comes and says, "No, it's none of you."
Yeah.
Yes, so Levitt actually said those things that the experts listed
Yeah.
were only 50% of the answer. And he said that what happened was in 1973, there was a landmark Supreme case called Roe versus Wade.
Yes.
And that legalized abortion in the entire United States.
Yes.
And so his argument is that those children who would have been at the peak crime age in the 1990s, so teenagers going on 20,
Yes.
were simply not there to
Yeah.
commit those violent crimes because
Yeah.
their mothers had aborted them.
Oh.
Wow.
And so he contrasts this with the Romania,
Yes.
who, what's the guy's name? Nicolae Ceausescu.
Ceausescu. He was Moi's friend.
Yeah.
You telling me?
He taught him
I
how
didn't
to
know
do
that.
dictatorship,
Yes.
apparently.
Yes.
So in 1966,
Yeah.
1 year after Ceausescu became the dictator of Romania, he
Yeah.
banned abortions.
Okay.
So women...
So previously in Romania, I mean, they were pretty liberal society,
liberal.
so
Yeah.
abortion was allowed, and it kind of, I don't know, the argument that they're pushing I find very controversial, that
Yeah.
it moderated the thieving public.
Yes, exactly. So
they aborted criminals.
yes.
Again, you cannot say these things.
So what happened is, what Chichesco was trying to do, he wanted to increase the labor force. And within 1 year of this abortion illegality, the birth rate doubled. So what happened is that these children who were now forced to be born turned out to have miserable lives. They tested lower in school, they had lower success in the labor market, and they were more likely to become criminals. So what Levitt argues is in the book is you have this opposite situation. In Romania, you have abortion becoming illegal. So you have more criminals. Who are born. Then in the United States, you have a decrease in crime because those children who would have committed those crimes in the 90s were not born. I think, controversial.
It's completely controversial because it says that, and his statement in the book is that if you place in the hands of the mother the decision on whether or not to have a child, she makes the decision for the greater good. In removing the child. I'm holding the paper.
So mothers in Romania just birth criminals.
You can't summarize it like that.
Okay. This is winning headlines on a day in which, ironically, we had a winning headline from The Star and a winning cartoon from Ozone of The Star. I think the takeaway we can have from Freakonomics, seeing as there's absolutely nothing that correlates those topics, if I'm going to use your own word for you, is that the devil is not in the details. The devil is in the big picture. And when you look at the big picture, then you will find random and sometimes unique patterns. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.